God is saying this year you're going to have to be so close to him to the point where you can hear exactly what he's telling you to do when he's telling you to do it. This is going to be the year where you're going to have to break protocol of how you normally would do things, or where you normally would go, or how you normally would show up, and show up in a way that is God ordained, right? Show up in a way that is outside of the normal things, that is outside of the normal routine, that is outside of the normal, this is a thing that is traditionally done, right? And God said this is not the year of tradition, right? This is the year to break protocol, right? This is the year to pivot, right? And God is sending some things. God is sending some people. God is shifting some atmospheres because he wants you to step outside of protocol. You're used to doing things a certain way. God is calling for you to go in a different direction. If any of you guys know anything about the book of Esther, right? Esther was a queen whose people's life were in danger, right? They put out a decree for her people to be killed, right? And Esther was in position, right, to be able to dismantle this decree, right? To be able to pull this decree out of position and be able to flip the script, right? But in order for Esther to do that, Esther had to step outside of tradition. Esther had to step outside of the normal things that was done and listen to what was being told to her so that she could save lives, save people. Like, it was, Esther had to make a decision and come to the conclusion that this thing is bigger than me, right? This thing is, I was actually put in this position, right? This is how it was. I was actually put in this position so that I can save the lives of my people, so that I can save souls and bring people, allow people salvation instead of, being murdered and killed and, lost and things like that. And this is for the people who are called, right, in certain positions and things like that. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we're used to doing things a certain way, or used to going about things a certain way, or used to, because it's all tradition and it's, in this type of order and this type of, but sometimes, that's why I said you got to be close to God to be able to hear him, because sometimes God calls you to that position to break the tradition so that the lives of people can be restored, the lives of people can be saved. Like, God didn't call you to that position for you to be like, oh, I'm this preacher, pastor, nurse, doctor, because everything is a ministry, right? So God is not putting you in that room. God is not setting you up for that degree. God is not calling you to these places and spaces just so you can get the glory, you can get the honor, and you can get the praise just by being in that position, and just by you just being some old regular person with letters behind your name, or that person with a platform, right? God is calling you to that position for a reason. It's a purpose that you are called to that position. It's a purpose why you are in that room. It's a purpose why you're connected to that people. It's a purpose in why God is doing. And this word is for somebody, because it's many of us that's called to many places and spaces, and we could get to a place where we feel kind of weird because we like, oh, they used to doing it like this, or the people can be pressuring you to feel like, oh, this is how this is done, and this is how this normally is done, and da 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 da. But when you hear the voice of God so clearly, when you have spent time in your secret place, when you are praying, when you are fasting, when you are reading your word, and you hear a word from God, and God is talking to you, and it's the voice of God, right? You have to be bold enough, right, to be able to step outside of tradition of how those things are normally done. Even if the people are telling you, look, this is how we do things, right? You gonna listen to them, or you gonna listen to what God said, right? You have to be bold enough to step outside of that and do what God is calling you to do for a time such as this. Just like Esther, because she was obedient, the lives of many souls were saved. Sometimes you feel like doing that thing will mess up your relationship, will mess up your position, will mess up your place, will take away, oh, I worked so hard to get here and blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But let me tell you something. We cannot allow our relationship with people to lead us in a direction that disconnects us from God, right? We can't, right? Don't conform to the patterns of the world. Don't conform to the patterns of people. Don't conform to the room. Don't conform to the place. Don't conform to the space, right? We have to listen to what God said at all times. Because at the end of the day, in all of it, God gets the glory. God gets the praise. God gets the honor, right? You are where you are because of God, not because of man. Right? So don't ever allow yourself to be consumed by the praise or applause of people that you reject what God. Wait a minute. I had to come back, y'all, because I had to remind y'all that even in the book of Esther, she got so gangster with it that she said, I'm going to go against the way of how things are normally done and break the tradition of how they normally do it because I want to save my people just that much. Then Esther comes and says something that's so gangster, y'all. She said, and if I perish, I perish. Like, if I die, I die. But as long as I know that I knew that I was in this position to be able to break the tradition in order to save my people, as long as I knew I did everything that God called me to do in this position, if I die, I die. But God is so good. Like, he's not going to allow that to happen. Like, he's God. If he told you to do something, best believe he got a purpose and you will not perish, right? Ask Abraham. Ask those 3 Hebrew boys. Ask Daniel. Ask Moses. Ask Lazarus. Ask Ezekiel. Ask Noah. Like, should we go on? Ask Ruth and Naomi. Like, we can go on and on and on and on. Like, what are we talking about? Ask Jacob. What? Ask David. What? Like, he's not. You have to be able to be bold enough to break protocol and be still enough to be. You gotta get close. 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 You gotta get close enough to where you can hear him. So that when he is calling you to break protocol, it's going to be big. And it's going to be bigger than you can ever imagine. But you got to get close.